If you need a 30-day refi and you've built a relationship with that bank, they can get it done. And you can compete.
That's good.
I mean, you'll kick the ass off of every cash offer. You're going to beat everyone. Like your biggest problem will be, what do I do with all these houses?
This is a lead from March, and he finally let me see the property. I brought over one of my partner investors and basically gave him a verbal cash offer. Once he received his letters of testamentary, he went ahead and accepted the verbal offer, and we are under contract, and we're set to close on the 15th.
Welcome, superstar agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, July 2nd, 2020, and this is Mastermind call number 285. Before we go to our callers, I just want to make a little announcement. We hit our 10,000th subscriber this past week, and the winner of our 10,000th subscriber contest was John Barley, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So John got a free month worth of lead, and the winner of our Send a Subscriber contest was Jonathan McGee. He sent us 18 people that subscribed to our All the Leads Mastermind. Congratulations to John and Jonathan. You both got some free leads coming. Any of you that are not members, we've got 10,000 and plenty of room for more. Just go to All the Leads Mastermind, and we'll just make sure that you're a real estate or an investment professional, and we will let you in. First up this week is phone number ending in 4606. You're up first.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I am out in Los Angeles, and I was wondering if you have any recommendations as to what might be nice to send to a PR either before you've met or spoken with them or afterwards. We signed up for the ISA program, so we have an appointment set to speak with somebody in about a month. And wanted to send them either a listing presentation package or a bottle of wine or something like that to kind of help build that rapport, if you have any recommendations.
The nicest piece that I've seen in 7 years of doing this, David Pinnell, he actually posted it in our Facebook group. So if you go to All the Leads Mastermind, use the search bar and put in PANNELL. He actually shared a post a day or two ago, but they were in the envelope. But he created probably a 20-page PDF brochure that he runs it on his own printer. But we can actually help you design and print something like that if you would like. But it's been a while back. But look at a few of his posts. You'll see a video. He actually leafs through it page by page and shows it. It's a really well done piece, and that's how he uses it. David is really, really good with follow-up. So he sometimes talks to these families for a year. Whenever they're ready, they call him and he goes. But he kind of created that piece as a premium piece for the folks he's already made contact with and basically his pipeline. So he's not sending those out to 300 people. He's sending them to 15 people. So take a look at his post and that video where he leafs through his, and that should give you some ideas. If you need help designing and printing, we can handle all that for you.
In Chad, our trifold brochure, we have a lot of people use that for attorneys, but that can be pretty easily adapted to send out to executors also, right? Pretty much the same material?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I guess my perception of her request was that she was looking for more of a premium piece for the people she already has in the pipeline. That's why I suggested. But, yeah, the trifolds are very useful. It sounds like, Sarah, you're looking for a wow factor, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. We're looking forward to meeting with you. Here's a FedEx nice package, and we have a very nice listing-bound presentation that we can send along with some PDFs that we already have, but maybe getting even the PDF with our probate information bound might be nice instead of just in a folder.
Yeah, take a look at his, and David's really generous. If he may be on this call, Dave, I know he's on vacation right now, but he's very generous and he'll share with you anything. But he did do a page-by-page video. It's been a while back, but the search should bring it up if you search his name in the search bar.
Perfect.
You mentioned that the ISAs got you an appointment. Tell us more about that, please.
It was wonderful. My partner Victoria and I were kind of new at the probate stuff specifically, and we felt like we were kind of not putting the time into our specific prospecting. We have a lot of pillars of business, and this is one of them. So we figured if we wanted to make sure that our investment was getting we were making the best use of our investment. And so we thought, we'll have the ISAs make the calls. We're having you guys send the letters. And that way the calls we're never skipping a week of making phone calls. And they're probably better equipped at that initial conversation than we are at this point. And so, literally within 1 week, I think, of signing up, they made a phone call, or they made an appointment for us to have a follow-up phone call in about 3 or 4 weeks from now with somebody that has a condo to sell in one of our prime areas that we work in. So it worked out really great.
Thank you. So you're using the system the way it's supposed to be used. And, what you can't do yourself, let us fill it and do it for you. So thank you for that. Please let us know when you get the listing, and we'll put you in the running for winner of the week. But appreciate you sharing.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, we have 3 more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 4737. You're up next.
Hi, this is Dana. I'm calling from Florida, and I was replaying in one of the probate mastery class, and Chad had mentioned something about a note with the first deed of trust, and I'm curious what the alternative, or if there is an alternative to that in a mortgage state like Florida that doesn't do trust. Anything that protects the seller more and would allow them to, if payment wasn't made, is there an equivalent to that in Florida?
Well, they're just different document names in Florida. So in Virginia, when we do a private mortgage, you have a promissory note and a first deed of trust, where in Florida you have a promissory note and a mortgage. So it's basically the same thing, just different document names.
But it would require then a full judicial foreclosure. I think I've read that first deed of trust is a little bit more streamlined if there's a problem.
So I have something that I use. I've never had to test it in the courtroom, but it has been bounced off of attorney generals in the states I've used it. I call it a deed in escrow. I just kind of made it up, and my attorney's like, yeah, I think that works. What we do is basically a deed in lieu of foreclosure, but at the initial closing. So the seller to the borrower is deed A, and then borrower to lender is deed B. Deed A gets recorded. Deed B goes into my attorney's safe. And it's just an agreement that I have. So in theory, what we believe and what the Attorney General agrees with is that if one of my borrowers default, my attorney can go record the deed and I recover the asset without foreclosure. Now, it's never been tested. It has been vetted, but it hasn't been tested in front of a judge. But that's like the ultimate risk mitigation that kind of circumvents. And these are on commercial mortgages, non-owner occupied. That's also important to note, which is very different in a courtroom than an owner-occupied, residential loan.
Owner-occupied residential is going to be much more difficult to foreclose on.
The judge is always going to side with the consumer.
Okay. All right. Well, I just didn't want to, I just was trying to figure out my nomenclature. So thank you.
And obviously, your best protection there is to get a sizable deposit, especially now because it's taken a long time to foreclose. If you get enough down, and it makes sense for you to take the property back, regardless if it takes you a year. Yeah, just be real careful with that. You got to be more careful in today's environment. Go ahead.
So we didn't set that up much there wasn't much of a preface, but there's other instruments you can use. What we're talking about is just straight owner financing. You can use to lessen the risk for the seller. You can use a lease with option to purchase and accomplish the same thing. It's just less beneficial to the buyer. So if you're mitigating risk for the sell side, a lease with option to purchase. But you couldn't use a lease
with their option to purchase if you had an HOA that had a restriction on owning for the first couple of years, could you? That would have to be a flat out.
I would have to you'd have to read the decks and bylaws to see specifically. Potentially no.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I've read up on the lease with options, and I have followed up on some of Bill McCall's stuff, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have you seen,
Thank you.
If you haven't already, the series we did back in March called Shift Happens, if you go to youtube.com/allthelead, go to playlist, look under Shift Happens, and episode 4, I walked through 7 creative financing strategies, and I showed you the risks and benefits from the buy side and the sell side, and the most common ways that we use those. It's about 2 hours, so it's nothing. It's like 20 hours to teach all that in full, but it'll give you a good idea of what the 7 options are and when they're best used. So if you haven't seen that video, take a couple hours. I think that'll be helpful for you.
Terrific. Thank you so very much.
Sure.
All right. Thank you for participating. Next up is phone number ending in 7976. You're up next.
It's Renee. Quick question. I'm going back through all the leads that I have, and I'm noticing a good amount of them. The PR's address is the same as the lawyer. So please reiterate what that might mean. And then secondly, Chad, I know you always say mail often, and mail early, mail often. I'm actually going to be mailing a better portion of everybody who's in my list. I just want to be kind of highest and best use of time and money. And I may go back over those as a secondary, but is there any reality of getting business from that, or is it just the lawyer standing over the trash can or never seeing it, getting past the gatekeeper?
So typically when those address fields match, it's typically a fiduciary. It's usually, an attorney or a fiduciary representing the estate. Mm-hmm. You're better off on the phone than you are in the mailbox for those, or showing up in person, which isn't really an option right now. Treat those pretty much the way you treat attorneys. As far as everyone else, I will, without letting too many cats out of the bag, we're almost finished with Probate Plus. And as far as going back through every lead you've ever bought and focusing your effort, you can simply run Probate Plus, and we'll show you all the ones with real estate, how much equity it has, whether it's sold or not. And you can really focus your efforts and focus your budget on the ones that are ready to go.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay,
so
thank you.
Hopefully by the end of next week, you should have that in your hands. So just sit tight.
Love it. On that note, you know what? Because I'm scouring through everybody, right? And I have them as like sold or listed, or I don't have a phone number or whatever the case may be. Can I just then upload the ones that I've already gone through so I don't pay for everybody to be scoured through? Number one. Number two is...
Yeah, so we've built in an exclude feature, just like for mail and phone calls. So you can actually go through your original list and hit exclude from Probate Plus, and then run the Probate Plus augmentation, and you'll only be charged for the ones that you have not excluded.
And then do you think I should just wait? I mean, instead of doing the mailer now, like wait till Probate Plus?
We're talking 4 or 5 business days, so yes.
Yeah, wait,
We're literally putting the touches on it now and making training videos, and we hope to release it to you next week.
Because I want to get in front of those people who, may have been in August, September of last year, and as I went through them, they haven't relisted because I cross-reference it through the MLS. I have 2 screens open while I'm calling, basically. So I'm kind of doing a Probate Plus on my own. It's just taking a lot longer.
So we're going to do that, but in 3,149 counties.
Yeah, well, I mean, for anybody who's on the line and who's trying to save $1, respectfully, because I'm on a budget right now myself, but it takes so long to do it. I've already been through it, so I kind of did it, but it took me the better part of probably a couple weeks of, at least incorporating that into my prospecting. It just takes a lot longer than you think. But
the good news,
anyway.
The great news for you is not only will it do that, it does that in every county in the country. We'll find everything in LLC, everything in trust, things that you're not finding, and we're actually going to give you all that convenience for less money than you're paying us now, or than you're spending now.
And that might be answering to the gal who was the first, where I'm thinking, this just came to me, I'm thinking with those like needles that fall out of the haystack, maybe I can then, upgrade after I've spoken to them, or there is no phone number attached, and just try to get in front of them.
That was kind of our vision for this. So if you're targeting your effort, let's say Probate Plus focuses you on 60% that are like, ooh, these are great targets. Then you can move up to a premium mail piece. We've tested with things that we call shock boxes. It's basically a box of shredded paper with a message inside. So it's extremely light with low price postage, but it's a big impact, right? No one else is sending that. The idea is to focus your marketing dollars and on fewer leads with premium mail pieces, so you can really differentiate yourself, because we are getting more competition in the mailbox, but nobody in the country will have access to data like you guys will next week. Nobody.
Well, on that note, if I can ask one more question, can we utilize that resource to run other people we find, like let's say off-market opportunity distress that might be doing driving for dollars? Can we run that through there as well?
Not right now.
Okay.
We may build it. So right now it's built to be a direct overlay on our probate data, and we may have future features where we can do augment other lists. But right now we're focused on having literally the best probate data anyone's ever had.
Cool. Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Renee, I'll add one thing to it. I know you're very high analytical. You'll appreciate this. Since I'm not the one to let the cat out of the bag, I'll expand on that a little bit. I know you're very lead follow-up intensive, but just imagine, we always tell people the value of sending out a 6-month letter or even a year letter, but we should be able to do an auto program for you where after whatever specified period of time you want, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, we can go back in and only check the ones that we knew had real estate in the beginning, see if they still have real estate, and only mail to them. Because if you start off with 100 leads, realistically, after 6 months, you're probably down to 20 or 30. After a year, you're down to 5 or 10. And it's certainly worth mailing to them 2 years from now if the property hasn't sold yet. So, there's just a lot of different ways we can use the product once it comes out and, increase your efficiency and at the same time cut your costs.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that.
One of the, just as an example, so I did Henrico County, Virginia. I took a 12, 13, and 14-month-old list, and out of those, I think it was 90-some leads. There were still not 60 leads with property, but among the leads that still had property, there were 60 properties that were over a year in probate in a market where it takes 6 to 8 months. So a lot of people have procrastinated and not sold or not listed or anything. So there is, back to the very beginning of your question, there is a ton of opportunity, and this will really help us highlight that for you.
And I thank you, and I just want to say as a subscriber to anyone else on the line that I love and trust you guys, and there's a lot of validity to what you're saying because to a degree, plus or minus 2%, right? If we were doing like a statistics thing, but I actually got to see it on my own list. And, so I'd be calling people, and some folks, whether they're telling the truth or not, it's not a lot of them, but they're just like, oh, we never had any real estate, or there's just a lot of stuff, going on. So this layered in, I see it as efficiency. I know you're saying analytical, but I just think it's efficient. Where am I spending my time? Where am I spending my dollars? So I really look forward to seeing this work. And then living in LA, yes, it's competitive. I mean, when the people do tell me they're getting, 6 to 10 letters, almost everybody's pitch is, I'm an investor, I want to buy your house, which, by the way, I've incorporated into my script when I call. So when most people answer the phone, especially if they've been on the market for a while, they're annoyed. I can hear it in their voice. And I said, well, I'm not an investor. We're not here to buy your property. And then I pitch, and then literally that diffuses it. And so I know that that's really my only other competition. And if it is a real estate agent, they're the ones saying, we'll still buy your house for cash, or, we'll pay for the upgrades on the property. I mean, it just seems like the same old kind of messaging. So I'm incorporating into what you're saying with the messaging, as well as having access to efficiency. But I just love it. So thank you guys for, putting this layer in there, especially in big markets like me where I almost have to have a differentiator or people just don't even bother listening. So
thank you so much for your comments and participating. We appreciate you. Next up is phone number ending in 7754. You're up next.
Good afternoon. This is Maria from Killeen, Texas. I actually was following up on my question from last week with regards to the missing attorney information for the last few months of my leads. I called earlier this week to the support line, and somebody was supposed to get back to me, and I haven't heard back.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Any of the partners aware of it or not?
I remember talking about it, but we'll make sure somebody calls you today.
I appreciate it.
This is Maria, right?
Yeah, this is for Bell County.
Okay. I'm sure that probably Lindsay is working on it. She may not have an answer yet, but we will have somebody get back to you today and give you an update.
Okay,
yeah, real quick, just real quickly, restate the issue again, Maria, because I'll follow up on it while we're talking.
So for the last 3 months, I would say the leads that I received in the leads that I received in April, May, and June, none of the leads have attorney information attached to them.
You're in Bell County?
I am.
I'm looking at the June list.
I have your answer for you because as soon as that call was over, that's why I asked you to repeat it. So we did check, and what's happening, unfortunately, in your county, and this is happening in several places across the country, they're only releasing a more limited set of data. Attorney information is showing up in the released set of data that we can pull. So we can only give you what they're giving us. Now, our understanding is that is going to change shortly, and hopefully we'll be able to, get it. And we're going to try and go back and pull that data, if we can, on the leads that you've already gotten.
Okay.
Is that because of COVID, Tim? Because of the virus?
Yeah, COVID. Because it was shut down, and it's not including the same data set as it was. And we literally went back and looked month by month, and because my initial thought was, well, why aren't we getting it? Went back and checked, and that's the answer.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. And I have another question. So I attempted to, actually, I called the county clerk to see if I can set up an appointment to meet with them or meet with her so I can get like an overview of the probate process. And I got a lot of pushback. Is there, maybe it was my delivery, I'm not quite sure, but or maybe it's because of COVID and they're not allowing people in as much as they were before. I don't know, but she wasn't really receptive to the idea of giving me a rundown of, the probate process on the legal side, the court side.
So I've actually never hit resistance on this, and I've done it in several markets with our customers, and I did it here. I've done it in my market in person. I would suggest don't request in person right now. They're under a lot of pressure anyway, so just try to do it as a phone call. But the way I approach it is, hi, my name's Chad. I've helped several families here in Roanoke going through the probate process, and frankly, I just would like to have a better understanding so I can provide a better service in our community. So have you got just a few minutes to run me through and just show me what the timeline looks like here? And the most recent person I had do it was in Fairfax County, Virginia, and he walked out like just blown away with how helpful they were and like a full package of information. They gave him letters testamentary, the petition, they gave him all the documents, and the same thing has happened that I did here. So you may have just gotten the wrong person or the right person on the wrong day. I would just call back and kind of take that approach of, hey, one way or the other, I'm going to help people in the community, and it sure would be nice if you guys would help me.
So once I told her that I was a real estate agent, that's when I hit that roadblock.
Yeah, so just like with attorneys and with personal reps, just forget being a realtor in this space.
Okay.
Because the problem is there's so many unprofessional realtors that muddy the water for us. So the second we give ourselves that title, it's like, oh, another one of these guys. What in the hell? So just be Maria. Like, hi, my name's Maria. I've got a team of people here in Killeen that help families going through probate, and I just want to be better at what I do. Can you please help me? And just stay away from the titles, guys. There's so many people that do this the wrong way. You're better off to just be Maria.
Okay. I will definitely heed your advice. Thank you so much.
Hey, let me just add one other thing so that you're aware of this. We actually sent an email out. It went to Patrick at your company. Patrick got an email answering your question because that's who we have on file.
Oh.
It didn't come to you. But we sent the information I told you about, we sent out to Patrick.
I'll make sure to talk to him and have him forward it to me. Is there any way that you guys can include my email in the correspondence? Because I'm really the one who handles the leads. He's the subscriber and pays for it, but I'm the one who's doing it.
That's fine. Would you mind asking him just to send us a note to do that, and we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. But we did reply, and it is as I told you. We actually did this on the 25th of June. We came back to you with the information you were asking for immediately after you asked.
Well, I'll make sure to get on him. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, guys. Boy, we got over 100 people on the call. This is unusual. We only have one more person in the queue. Come on, we need a success story this week. We need a win, a listing. We had about 4 people we didn't get to on the role play call yesterday. If you'd like to role play, jump on. Did you say something, Maria?
I said I got a listing. Actually, I'm under contract for my listing.
Oh.
So I've been working on it since March. And
well, see, and you almost left that out. Tell us about it. You're in the running then for winner of the week. Tell us about the listing and how you got it and the whole story, if you would.
So this is a lead from March. He is a DOD employee. His mother passed away, left him property. I basically just kept him in an incubator for a few months, and I would reach out to him, send him messages. I reached out to the title company that I am partnered with for my probate transactions, and I asked them if they could pull any liens on the property, got that information for him, sent it to my client, and he was really impressed. He signed the listing agreement with me about a couple of weeks after I sent him that information. I was able to pull I was able to pull some, I don't even remember what I was going to say. But anyway, so I met with him a few months later, back in May, and he finally let me see the property. I brought over one of my partner investors and basically gave him a verbal cash offer. He wanted to wait until the probate hearing, which was on June the 11th, and once he received his letters of testamentary, he went ahead and accepted the verbal offer, and we are under contract, and we're set to close on the 15th.
Great job. So a listing and a sale. Double dipper. Good job.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing. Chad, any questions about the deal or anything you want to ask Maria?
No, congrats. Thanks for sharing that.
And all right. Maria, thank you. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, Jim. Yeah,
yes, sir.
So I've got something to chime in on with regard to the clerks. In my county, and depending on the county size, there could be a whole lot of clerks, and every now and then you're catching, as Chad mentioned, you're catching one on the wrong day. Or the right day, right person, wrong day. It could be anything. But what I've done in my county, just because I know that there are a few that are not very helpful, I went to a couple of the attorneys that I have good relationships with and asked them to make an introduction for me. So if you have an attorney that you have a relationship with that can introduce you to a clerk or the clerk that you need to talk with, you'll get a lot further without much pushback.
Thank you. I am actually trying to work on a marketing campaign for an attorney that I want to connect with, that I want to partner with, who's actually attached to the title company that I work with. So that's good information. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, meantime, we got 3 more in the queue, guys. Good job. Next up is phone number ending in 2477. You're up next.
Yes, we are focusing on the investment aspect of it, the return on the investment. So
sure.
We built a spreadsheet and pulled out properties that we had, like in one case here, we're just going in on this one here. Okay, here, what have we got? Okay, so the property value is about $275. They owe $190. It's a 69% ETV, I guess it would be. And so here, my approach, and I'm just feeling this out with the client, actually. I wanted to get your response on this. I can compete with, I'm a broker myself, but I don't like going in as a broker, as you said. I want to come in as an investor because that's where I make my money anyway. So I'm approaching it by saying, okay, we're going to offer you $263, $275, which is really hot because most investors aren't going to do that, because they're not going to make any money. But I can come in that way because I keep, in my spreadsheet, I'm tracking what my ROI is on the deal. I'm looking more at my ROI and less on the other information. So in this particular case, for instance, I can come in that high and compete with whoever it is I'm competing with, and I can still come up with a significant ROI, 29% on my money, even though actual profit is low. Profit's low, ROI high. Because I wasn't sure that this would work, is by doing an all-inclusive trust so that I can put up the $85,000 that they want. So basically I'm coming in and saying, look, here's my cash off. I'll cash it. We'll get this taken care of right now. I come up, they get the $85,000. I have the lender out there, which I'll take care of until I flip it, no problem. And I'm making upwards of 29% ROI on my money, whereas to make that same 29%, I'd have to come in low like anybody else if I'm going to flip it out again. So does that all make sense so far?
It does, but what you're missing is this will only work if title has transferred out of the name of the deceased. So you're essentially talking about taking it subject to and just paying them a spread on the equity, and you take it subject to the existing lien. That will work as long, especially in a surviving spouse situation. So spouse A and spouse B were on title. Spouse A passed away. There was a transfer on death clause. Only spouse B is on title, and they're still living. So you can sign your purchase agreement with spouse B, transfer title subject to spouse B gets the $85,000. You get the house. Now, then the loan remains on spouse B's credit. So it's important you figure out where they're moving to. But a lot of times they're moving in with family or moving into long-term care, or they plan to rent the rest of their life, or rent a patio home or an apartment. So it's a really, what your strategy that you're describing is really good in surviving spouse situations. Otherwise, what state are you in?
California.
Yeah, so otherwise you pretty much have to wait until after the probate closes and there's an interfamily transfer as the distribution. Then they can do whatever they want. Then you can do any kind of owner financing. But in that case, they would have probably already paid the note off. The other thing, the other strategy that you can do if it's still in probate, and because California has such a long probate period, you can go ahead and take it subject to and close it. Just know that you have to refinance before probate closes because part of the probate.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's what I was looking for. That's the little part that I'm looking for, what you just said. Right.
Yeah,
so
you're looking, your average probate in California is 12 to 18 months for most families. So you've got a much larger window of opportunity than most of us do. Like here in Virginia, I have short fuses on these because most people are closed out in 6 to 8 months. It's all done. In California, like a record-setting probate is like 8 months. So if you get to them early, you get it under contract, transfer title, give them their 85 in cash, you've got maybe a year to refinance.
Okay, so that's what I was looking for. Here's the second part of that. So I've done a couple of these. Before I did the training now and I have my certification, but before that I had already done some probates just because I had. And one of the things that I was learning is that this whole thing about closing out. So in order to be closed out, the judge has got to have appraisal. It's got to be audited so that they know that everything's, on the up and up. And then, it gets closed out. There cannot be, I'm thinking, there cannot be any loans or loose ends on a property when they're closing out a probate. Everything has to be cleared out. And so I remember that. That's why I made this phone call. I'm an investor. I want to take care of business anyway within a period of 90 days. So I go in.
I would suggest for your takeout financing, go to a small community bank, like under $2 billion in asset, and work with their commercial division. And they will, if you have above a 750 credit score, a lot of times those strong community banks will actually take you out at like 85 LTV, but on the ARV. So for example, if that house appraised for 300, they would give you 85% of that. So because you're working with a commercial loan, you can actually walk away from the closing table with cash if you get into these at the right price. And usually they only need to see 2 months of, if you have 2 months rent rolls, they'll usually refi you. Like if you've got a stabilized asset, they'll refinance it in as little as 60 days. But I would, because this is a creative strategy, I would suggest that you work with a community bank where you can literally sit down in front of that person and they can underwrite you as an experienced investor. And then you don't have to worry about timelines. If you need a 30-day refi and you've built a relationship with that bank, they can get it done. And you can compete.
That's good.
I mean, you'll kick the ass off of every cash offer. You're going to beat everyone. Like your biggest problem will be, what do I do with all these houses?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I can take and stretch my money way out there.
Now, you seem like a detailed guy, so I'm going to give you one more thing, like one thing you haven't mentioned. I find it with a subject to deal like this, I like to roll them into a land trust, so it looks like an estate planning transfer. So if the lender ever would come and look at it because they had to notice the creditors of a death when the Social Security flagged that Social Security number with the death flag. So if they go look at title, I want them to see 123 Walnut Street Land Trust, which is they're far less likely to call the note due because it looks like an estate planning move or it moved out to a family trust. The other thing that I do in addition to that, so the asset rolls into a trust at closing, so it should be, my LLC and or assigns, and then you can assign the contract to 123 Walnut Street Land Trust and close into the trust. It's going to save you from paying transfer tax, which is a significant amount of money. It's also going to give you that anonymity so that you have attorney-client privilege on whoever the trustee is. So if the bank wants to call the note, they hit a wall when they get to your attorney. He doesn't tell them who actually owns it.
So you're talking about we're going to move forward. We got that far, but you still have this bank out there which could say that the loan's being alienated or some such thing. I don't know what it would be called.
Well, it's a due on sale clause. It's in the original loan docs.
Right. So that would be alienation. Right.
So to maximize to mitigate that risk, close into a land trust, And then to further mitigate the risk for the borrower, the family, put a third-party servicer. I use Evergreen Servicing out of Washington. It's like $12 a month. They will send you a paper statement and email you a statement. So you have an ACH from your bank account to the servicer's bank account, and then both you and the seller get a copy, so everybody knows the mortgage payments are being paid and that you did what you said you were going to do. It's just, those are just things that give you a really competitive advantage and make them feel comfortable. So we're going to do everything we can. You know, we've got these, even we go this far to protect your best interest, even though you don't own this house. We want you to know that your credit, we are a custodian of your credit as soon as we close. And it's important to me that as the custodian of your credit, you have proof that I'm doing what I said I was going to do. So we put this third-party servicer in place. Every month you'll know when the mortgage payment was made from my bank account, and you can rest easy that your credit is rising on my dollars. Okay, yes. So you don't have to worry about affecting your credit or doing anything. I mean, you know, it's just, That's right. So that's a good point. You as the buyer are the only one taking risk. Yeah, because that's right. Because if things go left on me, then it's my problem. They got their $85,000, and it's not going to affect their credit. Okay. All right. Awesome. Great information. Thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 7972. You're up next.
Hi, this is Jack from Phoenix. I'm brand new to all the leads. And I've just got my first set of leads, and I've been working on building my team. And I've been pretty much good luck with everybody except for family attorneys. I've approached probably 20 different firms and really gotten a lot of pushback or no response at all. What is a good response to get a family attorney on my team?
So like an estate planning attorney?
Yeah, somebody who do estates and wills and all that kind of stuff. I've got a great probate attorney. I really got blessed with that, but trying to find a family attorney, I've had no luck.
The two best options we have, are you in brokerage? Do you have a lot of past clients?
Actually, I'm a recent transplant from Michigan. I've only been here about a year, so this is another avenue to build up my business.
Okay. Here. Well, there's a couple ways we crack into these relationships. Usually probate attorneys and family and estate planning attorneys are synonymous. They do both sides of the business in the firm. So you can lead with a referral. If it's someone you meet walking down the street, if you can get someone to say, yes, I really should have an estate plan, I'll take a free hour with your attorney, then that's an A-plus referral. And you can approach these firms and say, hey, listen, we've got a team of people that help families in transition. And also, we do a lot of conventional business. And one of the parts of our service process is to make sure that every client we represent has an option to set up an estate plan, because we're putting them in the largest asset purchase they'll probably ever purchase. So I'm looking for attorneys that I can trust to provide the same level of service that my clients are used to. Have I called the right place? And you open the door with a referral. The other thing you can do is sit down and do a collaboration with them. So, like I said, usually estate planning attorneys are also probate attorneys. And usually in any given market, 20% of petitioners will initiate the process without legal representation or pro per. Those people eventually get wrapped around the axle and hire legal help, and they end up paying more for it. So you can approach these attorneys and say, listen, we find ourselves helping more and more families in probate. And I notice, we go to the courthouse every 30 days and pull the list, and I notice there's at least X number each month that don't have legal representation. And I'm looking for an attorney that I can refer those folks to when I meet those families and realize they're about to get in over their head. I need an attorney that I can trust. Would you have 5 minutes to sit down and chat? And come in and start the conversation with that. Ask them to sit down and design a probate timeline or a probate checklist with you. So, and then color all the legal aspects one color, everything else another color. Put their name in their firm and phone number in the footer, and you can make that an enclosure in every letter you send. So you're giving them a loophole to anti-solicitation law. They can legally market to those 20% through your marketing medium. And naturally, that conversation is going to go to, what is it you said you do again? Oh, well, let me tell you, I've got a team of people right here in Roanoke that help families going through probate. Really, where your business leaves off, mine picks up. I'm really glad we met. And what you'll find is usually you ask for a few minutes of their time, and you'll be there an hour and a half later, because you're giving them value first before you ask for anything. And really, they're asking you what you do and why you're there. So that's been a really effective approach. Those two things will usually get you into rock-solid relationships with attorneys.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Next up is phone number. Oh, go ahead, Bruce. You wanted to add something? Go ahead.
So I was going to say you have a really good attorney relationship, a probate attorney relationship. Ask that person if that's a solid relationship. Attorneys know attorneys. I guarantee that he networks with family law attorneys, estate planning attorneys, others. Tell him that that's a struggle you have, and I would be willing to bet that that you'll have an introduction or two by the day's end.
Great idea. Excellent add-on. All right, next up is phone number ending in 4606. You're up next.
Hi, it's Sarah again. When the queue was short, I thought I would ask one more question.
Sure.
Because we have the ISA set up our initial appointment, wondering what should the main objective of our call be? How should we kind of start off our meeting, our phone call with the personal representative?
Did you hear that, Chad?
I'm sorry, I didn't. I was looking.
She said one of our original callers said that the ISA set an appointment for her to call back. What should the focus of her callback be?
Did you get the conversation notes?
Yeah, some notes.
So, I mean, typically we're queuing you up to, present your service, and what you want to do is try to interview them, figure out what their biggest problems are, and then find out, then be the perfect solution to their problems. So if you have details in the notes, like if they ask, does the house need cleaned out? Yes. You can kind of prepare that way and know that you need to talk about that solution. But you pretty much enter it the same way that you would a cold call. It's a warmer introduction. It's, hi, this is Sarah. You spoke to my assistant earlier this week, and thank you for getting on my calendar. It's been really busy, but tell me about your situation. What are you guys going through? What do you think I can help with? And just see if they understand what you do enough to jump right in like that. And you may have to backtrack and go through your USP and explain it to them.
Okay.
And if I could add to that, just reiterate one thing Chad said, that you do want to start off, you don't want them to think it's a brand new cold call. You want to let them know, hey, you spoke to Sean, Sean and my team, and Sean mentioned, what's going on with your Aunt Sally's house, and, or mention an issue that Sean mentioned. Start off with that. It adds credibility and also reminds them of the appointment. You'd be surprised sometimes, your assistant may have set an appointment and they forgot, or they've had 10 cold calls in the meantime. You want to distinguish yourself as being different. That you've already made the initial contact through Sean or whoever it was that made the call.
Okay.
Make sense?
Thank you.
All right. Last up this week, if he's there this time, is Olu. Olu is back. Are you there, Olu? Well, Olu, at least you're consistent.
I think we got Olu's pocket.
Yeah. Olu is, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, good. Welcome back. What can we do for you?
Sorry about that. First, I wanted to ask about approaching sellers as a realtor versus an investor. What are your recommendations? And also regarding the land trust you mentioned for the person that called earlier, does all estate attorneys do this, or do you have recommendations for someone that can close when you're trying to buy a property subject to?
I'll go backwards on that. As far as land trusts and closing sub-2s, I highly, highly recommend that you do use an investor-savvy real estate attorney. So the best way I know to find those is find out who's buying at the courthouse steps because that's the messiest title you ever find, and they have to be creative, and they typically the attorneys who are working with investors who buy trustee auction properties like foreclosure auctions, those guys have, there's no title issue they haven't dealt with. So they usually are really good at contract law. They understand real estate law. You don't have to teach your attorneys what to do. And they don't tell you, well, you can't do that, that's illegal, just because they've never heard of it. So sometimes, not sometimes, I don't ever run those deals through title companies. I have a choice to use real estate attorneys for my closings in Virginia, and that's my choice. And they should know how to do a land trust if they work with investors. Most title companies and people who do a lot of bread and butter conventional business, they don't do anything with land trusts, and you just end up trying to educate the people you're paying to do the work. The other question, so I started coming in as an investor, then I started coming in as a realtor, then I realized both of those were wrong. Even in markets where you don't have fierce competition, if you don't, what we're trying to avoid is taking a title so that they have this preconceived notion of why you're calling and what you can or cannot do for them. And as much as I hate it, realtors and investors don't have a great reputation in the public. Everybody thinks investors are trying to steal houses, and everyone thinks realtors are just putting signs in yards to make their Lexus payments, and they don't do anything. And unfortunately, a lot of our peers, people who are out there doing this poorly, make that perception worse, and these folks have that fresh in their mind. So what is far, far more effective is just be you. So instead of being, hey, I'm Chad with ABC Real Estate, or Chad the Investor, I'm just Chad, which leaves more curiosity. And that curiosity means I get more engagement, right? They're asking me questions. So I would recommend that you don't use a title at all. You can find something like, hey, this is Chad. I have a team of people here in Roanoke that help families going through probate. Or, hi, my name's Chad. I'm a certified probate expert right here in Roanoke. We've built a team of people who help families in your position, and as part of that, we go to the courthouse each month and find out who we should reach out to. And we reach out as early as we can because we know what a difference that can make. I have said nothing about real estate. I'm purposely avoiding real estate because they feel like they have an ego response because everyone else is calling saying, hey, this is Chad. I'm a real estate investor in Roanoke, and I'm looking to buy 10 houses this year, and the zip codes are 24018, 15, and 14. Would you be willing to sell the house that you're currently representing in the estate of John Doe? And they're using that same old BS script. So these people have built these patterns, and their ego defense is like, I'm not listening, la, 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 la. And as soon as they hear investor or realtor, they just kind of shut down on you. Where what I said had nothing to do with real estate. Now, I know I can very quickly, in a matter of seconds, I can turn this conversation into nothing but a real estate conversation. But I'm willing to be patient until I get into rapport and they realize that I'm cut from different cloth. Then I'll segue to real estate by saying, well, listen, we've helped a lot of families, and the biggest struggle we see, and there's about an 80% chance that you're going through this, is real estate. Families have trouble getting the house cleaned out, getting people to show up, knowing what to do with the property, knowing what it's worth. So let's start there. That is likely your biggest challenge. Is there any real estate, and do you have a plan for it? So I'm entering it in a completely different way, so they don't feel like I just called them to see if I could steal their real estate or see if I could stick a sign in the yard and take a commission. Like, I'm focusing on people and situation, and then I narrow it down to real estate at the right moment.
Make sense? You still there, Lola? I guess she's gone. All right. Well, guys, once again, I want to end this call like I do all the calls. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those who actively participated. And I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice and come back and share your results next Thursday with the group. Have a great holiday weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.